What's up, guys? Officer Wolfline just coming at you with another video in reference to this Easter Sunday, Easter deception, just Easter period, and this new lunar moon and new moon doctrine. I tell you, some of the Hebrew Israelite camps, y'all do some crazy stuff, and then some of the stuff is even worse than the Christians. So hopefully you'll find this educational. I'm not going to take a lot of your time because it shouldn't take a lot of time to explain this. But for some of you, I'm going to make sure that I detail some things out in here so you'll understand what's going on. Because I understand how things can go. So I'm going to make sure you get it. So is it Happy Easter or Ishtar or Esther? I had all kinds of information on this, and I heard all types of information on this. So back when I was a Christian, we used to celebrate it all the time. We used to do Easter egg hunts, and I grew up Baptist before I started understanding my true heritage. And this is many, many years ago, over 20 years ago. So Easter or Ishtar? There's a lot of debate on this, but the bottom line is it has nothing to do with Christ at all. So over on your left is today modern, over on your right is what they used to do back in the day. So what's so hard to understand? I mean, if you're in the Christian churches, how are you going to have a bunny rabbit crapping out eggs? Does that even make sense to you? So Yeshua HaMashiach, or Jesus Christ, or Jesus the Christ, what does that have to do with anything? And then on the right, they dress it up. And I'm like, what are you guys talking about? See, when you grew up in a Christian world, all of this is just normal. There's nothing felonious about it. But for the adults back then, because of their heritage or the ignorance that was passed down through the slave time, still being in captivity today under the Roman Empire, you don't know any better. So as a young person, you know, you're excited to go Easter egg hunting and finding eggs and putting them in your basket. But there's always something to what we do. And you have to discern the capability to understand what are you doing and why are you doing it and how is it praising the Most High. So understand what you're saying. Understand what you're doing. And if you're just coming into the Hebrew faith, you need to understand that some of these things that you do in Christianity, you're not going to do over here. Because you're already breaking the laws. You're breaking the commandments. Okay? And it's not for everybody. It truly isn't. It's for Israel. So there's no way around this. This is just something that happens all the time. Easter is an event that is honored by nearly all of the contemporary Christianity as the resurrection of Yeshua, Jesus the Messiah. Now, this tradition is so well established that it was believed to have begun with the resurrection of our Saviour, instituted by his apostles in the first century in the commemoration of that event. So actually the apostles kept Passover until around the mid-2nd century when a debate broke out separating Christians, celebrations from Jewish ones. Churches in all the East still celebrated Passover, and then you have the quartodeciman churches, while Western churches began celebrating the resurrection on the first Sunday after Passover. Now, you understand that most Christians or most different doctrines, they do whatever they want. It has nothing to do with the Hebrew scriptures. It has nothing to do with the Bible. They just do whatever they want to suit them. So you have to understand that you are to conform to the Hebrew scriptures. The Hebrew scriptures do not conform to you. The only thing that was made for man is the Sabbath. And that's one of the hardest things to keep in today's world and realm. Now, the Passover may come from the German month in which it fell on Eosturmonath, and the name spread through Europe until it became standardized as the day of resurrection, known as Easter in English. So the bottom line is Easter's fake. I mean, there's just no way around it. If you do your research, you can't connect it to the Passover. It has nothing to do with it. But we're going to get into a little bit of that, and some of the stuff I'm not even going to waste your time on because you need to go read it. But I'm going to teach you some of the basic foundations of it so you can understand the crazy paths that has nothing to do with these scriptures and how ludicrous it really gets. So what's in front of you right now? Okay. One is fake and one is real. Caesar Borgia, Alexander the father, who was a cardinal, who was trying to bring up Caesar Borgia, the lower right hand side up as a cardinal, but even Caesar Borgia, who's a homosexual Edomite sodomite from him and Da Vinci got together and was doing all of that nasty love bucket stuff, committing all that abomination and sin. I bet you guys didn't even know that Caesar Borgia had a brother. He was a captain general back then. Some of the information perceives that he killed him so he could take over because he didn't want to become a cardinal under Alexander. And some of the information also states that, he used to lay with his sister as such as so to follow Alexander. I mean, a lot of stuff, a lot of history there. But just giving you some background. Of course, the one on top, you don't know him unless you're in the Hebrew Israelite culture or if you know the history of the Bible, because it is a book of color. And when I mean a book of color, I don't mean it to be whitewashed. There's nothing that's evident in the book that shows or says that the book is by Caucasian or from the Caucasus Mountains of tone to the skin. Simply a colored man in front of you. And if you don't believe me, you can go to Daniel and you can go to Revelation 1:13 through 5 and you can see it for yourself. It describes Christ, Yeshua HaMashiach, for himself. I mean, you can see it for yourself. But the Christian church won't teach you that. And none of the other doctrine of the Roman Catholic will not teach you that. Some Jewish organizations and some Islamic or Muslim sets will say some of these things. They will teach you that. And then you have Igbo tribe and the Lemba tribe, who are the real heritage, and such as ourselves, who we were cut off from our heritage. If you read your scriptures, you understand what I'm saying. And then you will understand that one of these are real and one of these are fake. It's just that simple. It's got to come from the book itself. You can do all the research you want. You can do all the philosophy you want. But if that book doesn't say it, and there's not some adequate doctrine to back up this sound doctrine from the Hebrew scriptures, I mean, what else is there? It's there for us to read. So let's get into the resurrection, the burial, or vice versa, of Christ. Now, I don't understand how Christians get this wrong. I really do not. And what you have in front of you is a culmination of snapshots of some work and some history pieced together so you can understand exactly what's going on here. But focus your attention in the middle for a second for 3 days and 3 nights in the tomb. And then I want you to go down. Well, actually, I want you to go up to the right where you see the well. Matthew 12:40, King James Version, where it says, when Christ was talking, for as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. That's Christ talking. He's dropping clues. He's telling you. And then in front of you, okay, 3 days and 3 nights where you see the arrows, from left to right, it shows you when his body was placed in the tomb, and then on the right at the end when he rose. If you notice, this particular calendar is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at the top. If you notice, Sunday is to the far right of that. Okay. So looking at this calendar, you see the moon, you see the sun, you see the moon, you see the sun, you see the moon, you see the sun. I don't want you to get confused. Okay, there's 12 hours in a day. I'm going to set it up front. There's 12 hours in a day. Okay, so breaking this down during the Passover time and when he was crucified and his body was laid in the sepulchre, you got to understand at that time there was a different paradigm of time between what it is today and the days of yesterday. Okay, they considered night the beginning of the next day, whereas we consider the beginning of the day as light. So you got to understand that it starts in the evening. That's the beginning of the day. Such as the Sabbath day from Friday night to Saturday night. It starts Friday night because it goes into Saturday night, because that's your 24 hours for that particular day. That's your Sabbath. Friday night to Saturday night. Okay, that's one full day. So if you look at it in the modern times, and if we kept it on a 12-hour hit or 6-hour hit, however you want to do it, in Eastern Standard Time, it starts getting dark around 6 o'clock. Okay, so if it starts getting dark around 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock, okay, that's your point of reference. And then you can roll that over into another 12 hours from 6 to 6 of reference, from day till night, night to day. Okay, so from your night to day, that reference should show you that there's still going to be 12 hours in that day. And then if you roll that over from going into that morning, then you have that other 12-hour period, okay, which would start another day at that night, because now you've completed that one cycle. So if you're confused, understand what I'm saying. There's 12 hours in a day. So, $66, $66. Don't get confused. It's not going to hurt you. All right. In front of you, we're going to start in your left-hand corner where it says Matthew 26, King James Version, 26:19. And the disciples did as Jesus had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now, this is the day prior to him being crucified, okay? Just to get you there. And if you see the pointed measure under the moon, you need to understand that this is the process that was happening back then. Now when the evening was come, he sat down with the 12. Of course, it's the 12 disciples. They followed him around, okay? And as they did eat, he said, "Verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me." Look, very famous story, if you're not familiar with this, that Judas betrayed Christ. And then you can go on and further and read in Matthew 27 all the way through. And then you will also find in Matthew 27 all the way through. In Matthew, you will also find where when that morning thereof, when the priests and the elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death, there was a conviction going on in Judas, at that time. Okay. And you will later on see, if you read the rest of the chapter, what he did. When he betrayed Christ, he was convicted, he repented, threw down the silver, and he basically committed suicide. But you need to go read that for yourself. It's a very, very interesting read, and you need to go pay attention to it. So he sat down with the 12 prior to the actual Passover and then thereof. And then some say it goes all the way through during that particular cycle. So I want to read this again so you can understand that the time frame is set, that this is in the evening when they're sitting down and they're talking and they're with the 12 and they're discussing things back and forth. Okay, now this is prior to, you might call it also as the Last Supper. Okay, now remember these things, because you're going to see it come up here and you might have questions, and I want you to go back and review what I'm saying. So at that night and carrying over towards that next day, during the Passover period, that's when they killed him, of course. But I want you to still focus on the left side over here. Matthew 27, King James Version 1. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and the elders of the people took counsel against Jesus, or Elohim, Yeshua HaMashiach, to put him to death. Now they went against him. Okay, they went against him at this point in time because he was already betrayed at this point. Remember in 26 and 21, he said, "Verily I say unto you, that one of you shall betray me." He already knew that he was going to be betrayed. So, and then I gave you the spill about who betrayed him, and then what he did to himself, because he he repented and threw down the silver and got out of there. But also, let's keep moving. That's a whole new video for the next day, or down the line, we'll take a look at it. I also want you to point down on the next to, if you see Jesus' body was placed in the tomb, just before sunset, it says Jesus died between 3 and 4 p.m. Okay, we're going to look at some of the time frames for that, because that's coming up next. It's going to come up real quick here. And then I want you to go down just a little further where it says John 11:9, King James Version. It says, Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in a day? If any man walk in the day, he stumble not, because he seeth the light of this world. Now, I want you to pay attention to that. I want you to remember that, because a lot of people don't understand some of these processes during the Passover and what's going on. And when we get to that, this is coming up here very shortly, I need you to understand. Also, I want you to understand, as Mary Magdalene and them, they went to the sculpture and he was already gone. You need to understand that Mary Magdalene was not a priest, minister, bishop, okay? When they approached and they saw the angel there, and they were scared, and he already told him that, he told them that Christ has already resurrected and already risen. That was going towards the next day. He had already gone. Okay, and that was on that Saturday. So some Christians get that really messed up. Don't know how, but you do, because the Sabbath is on the 7th day. Okay, and we got some information for you as well, just in case you want to debate it. You can debate the scriptures, because all I'm doing is regurgitating what's in the scriptures. So I don't want to keep digressing, but I need you to understand. If you need to rewind the video to understand and get this part, that's fine, because we're going to be moving forward, and I want to make sure this hammers home and you understand this very, very well. So if you see at the end to the right where it says 3 days, 3 nights in the tomb right here, okay, he had already rose, because he already did 3 days and 3 nights, and we're going to hammer that home as well. All right, but I want you to remember John 11:9, and I also want you to remember Matthew 12:40. Okay, that's very important. Very important. All right, let's go back to the left side over here where it says Matthew 27, James Version, King James Version 27. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against the Yeshua HaMashiach to put him to death. Okay, Matthew 27, 45, 50. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land unto the 9th hour. Now this is the next day, okay, after that meal, after what you call the Last Supper, after the 12 have already eaten, you're in the next day. This is during the day. That's why you have this sun here, where it says Nisan 14 under Wednesday. You have the sun, you have the moon, and then the sun there, so you can understand this is the next day. Okay, now what you're not understanding, or what you may understand, is when it says now from the 6th hour there was darkness. That may be a little confusing. Over all the land unto the 9th hour. Now what is that? Now, if it's dark during the day and that you've never seen an eclipse, then that may be a little confusing to you. Okay? So during this time and during that process, there was an eclipse. And I'll also gather over to your lower right now, next to where we're reading, when it says, now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land unto the 9th hour. Okay, listen. 6th hour is from noon to 1 p.m. You see that? From noon to 1 p.m. There was darkness. What does that do? Either there's going to be some bad weather or that was an eclipse. And since it doesn't mention any of that, we're going to call that an eclipse, okay? And it says the 9th hour, Yeshua HaMashiach cried with a loud voice saying, Eli, Eli, Alama, Sabekethana. That is to say, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? Okay, also look. 9th hour, Yeshua HaMashiach cried out a loud voice. 9th hour, if you go down all the way to the bottom, it says 9th hour, 3 to 4 p.m. Did you catch that? The 6th hour, noon to 1 p.m. 9th hour, 3 to 4 p.m. Now, he's crying out right now. And he was yelling out to Eli. And then it says, some of them that stood there when they heard that said, this man calleth for Elias. Think about this. They're crucifying him right now. Okay, they're crucifying him. And he's yelling out. And some of them that are around him while he's being crucified says, this man calleth for Elias. And straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him to drink. Moving on. The rest said, let us see whether Elias will come to save him. And then Yeshua HaMashiach, when he cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the ghost. He died, people. Right there, he died. Okay? He died at that point. So, once he died, and within the 9th hour between 3 and 4 p.m., he yielded up the ghost. He died at that point. He's no longer there or here on the earth. So, right after that, it went and put his body before, during sunset at that portion there. They put his body, they buried him. That's when he was buried. Now, at this point, you should understand why I said I wanted you to retain Matthew 12 and 40. Okay? Retaining Matthew 12 and 40 says that for as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days, 3 nights in the heart of the earth. I need to hit this as a home run because you need to understand the Son of Man is Christ. Okay, man is ahead of woman, right? So the head of man is Christ. The head of Christ is Yah, the Most High. That's his son. They're one and the same, but that's his son, okay? And he's the head of man. He's the head of all man. So you need to understand at this point, he is already buried, and he's going to be in there, according to Matthew 12:40, 3 days and 3 nights, as Jonas was in the belly of the whale. Okay. All right. So I pulled back the Jewish reference time schedule so you can see again that his body was placed in the tomb before sunset. He died between 3 and 4 p.m. during that time frame, during the 9th hour. John 11:9, King James Version, says that Yeshua Mashiach answered, "Are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world." I wanted you to see that again before we move forward, okay? And then once again, I'm going to put back this so you can see that in the 9th hour between 3 and 4, that's when he passed, okay? So 3 days and 3 nights in the tomb, that's right there in the middle, so you can see that. So most people have a problem understanding the concept of when he passed and the amount of time between the night and the day. So as you can see, there's 2 12s there for you, associating the processes of those days. Okay, so here's 4 12s for your 24-hour period. Here's another 12 that's going to be on your Saturday. There's another 12. Okay, 12 hours in a day, right? So there's your 24-hour period. Those are those 2 12s that you can do current math. All right. And here's your other one. So you got 2 days, right? 3 days and 3 nights, right? And here you have again the 3rd day. So before going into what you would call Saturday night, which would go into that following Sunday day, Sunday worship. Some of you might not understand that, but some of you probably caught that. He already rose. So the Sabbath is his day, not Sunday. So I don't understand how you got that. So moving forward, and I gotta hit this home for the Christians, because some of them just don't get it, and for some of you, I just don't understand how you're not getting it. It's just a simple calendar that's in front of you. This might go a little blurry, but you can make out the numbers. Okay, any regular calendar has 7 days on it, and it looks just like this: Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. For those who are in biblical times, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, day 6, Sabbath day. If you read down below, Leviticus 23, King James Version, 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest and holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of Yeshua HaMashiach, all your dwellings. That word Lord is part of the King James Version, but in the other translations is Yeshua HaMashiach. So, hitting this home for those who don't understand. Now, I'm giving you some background before we get into the Easter process, because this really debunks how you can understand how these two tie in together. So there's your Sunday egg, there's your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that Saturday is called the Sabbath, which starts from Friday night to Saturday night is your Sabbath. Okay? So, if there's 7 days in front of you and the first day starts on the Sunday, tell me how they got this calendar wrong. And we're going to get into that whole lunar theory. But you need to understand, under the Roman Empire, Sundays were changed under Constantine. That's how you got that. It was never changed in the Bible or the Hebrew scriptures. It was never changed. Christ came to fulfill the laws, not take them away or get rid of them. So this goes further into that lunar Sabbath. I don't know how you guys got that. The new moon Sabbath. So getting into that, where did you get this from? Okay. So if using this as an example, and we're going into Wednesday, and there's your moon, that big smiley face, and your first day is pride on that, then if that's your first day, and you've already read Leviticus 23:3, and also you can go in Genesis and see the same thing as far as the Sabbath day, and this is your second day on Thursday, your third day is on Friday. Doesn't this look a little suspicious to you? Your fourth day is on that Saturday. So when is going to be your next Sabbath? Your fifth day, your sixth day, your seventh day. So your next Sabbath is going to be on Tuesday. How did you get this logic? Okay. That means your first day is on Wednesday. That does not fit from the first day of the week. That means you would have a revolving first day of the week and Sabbath, depending on when you constructed it, the time of the day. Okay, look. Guys, this is debunked. Okay? It makes no sense. There's no change in the first, second, third day, fifth day, the sixth day, and the seventh day. It doesn't say it in the scripture, so where did you get that from? I don't know where you got it from. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this Easter thing that you like to use eggs and bunnies on. Okay. Listen, Nimrod was killed because of his violence and iniquities against the true and living God, and his body was cut into pieces and sent to various parts of his kingdom. His wife, mother, told the people of Babylon that Nimrod had ascended to the sun and was now to be called Baal, the sun god. Okay. Baal is Satan, okay? Sun god is Sunday, you worship Sunday, you worship the sun, you worship Baal, you worship Satan. There's no other way to put that. Semiramis was creating a mystery religion, and the help of Satan, she set up herself up as a goddess. Semiramis called that she was immaculately conceived, and she taught that the moon was a goddess that went through a 28-day cycle and ovulated when full, and that she had come down from the moon in a giant moon egg and fell into the Euphrates River at sunrise at the time of the first full moon after the spring equinox on a Sunday. Imagine that, another Satan worship day. Semiramis became known as Ishtar, which is pronounced Easter. So you can say Easter or Ishtar or Easter, referred to as Eosturmonath in scripture, and her moon egg became known as Easter's egg. One of her titles was the Queen of Heaven, and two of her fertility symbols were the rabbit and the egg. You Christians getting this? Rabbit and the egg? You still doing Easter Sunday egg hiding in that synagogue of yours, of Satan? She soon became pregnant and claimed that it was the rays of the sun god Baal that ascended Nimrod that caused her to conceive. The son that she brought forth was named Tammuz. Tammuz was believed to be the son of the sun god Baal, which is son of Satan. Tammuz, like his supposed father, became a hunter. The day came when Tammuz was killed by a wild pig. Queen Ishtar, or Easter, told the people that Tammuz was now ascended to his father, Baal, or Satan, the deceiver, and that the two of them would be with the worshippers in the sacred candle or lamp flame as Father, Son, and Spirit. Easter, or Ishtar, who was now worshipped as the Mother of God and the Queen of Heaven, continued to build her mysterious religion. The queen told the worshippers that Tammuz was killed by the wild pig. Some of his blood fell on the stump of an evergreen tree, and the stump grew into a full new tree overnight. This made the evergreen tree sacred by the blood of Tammuz. Can you guys think of any ritual, Saturnalia, better known as Christmas, where you take a tree from the wilderness, cut it down, and bring it into your house? I digress, but I just want to throw that in there. That's a little nugget, so you can understand what I'm going with this. And the Bible speaks against taking those trees and bringing them into your house, unless you're doing for firewood. But you deck it with silver and all sorts of things. But go read that. Moving on. She also proclaimed a 40-day period of time of sorrow for each year prior to the anniversary of the death of Tammuz. During this time, no meat was to be eaten. This is what became known as Lent in Roman Catholic tradition. You guys getting this? Hopefully you're getting this. Lent in Roman Catholic tradition, worshipers were to meet to meditate upon the sacred mysteries of Baal and Tammuz, Satan's son, and to make the sign of the Tau a cross. That's right. That's why when they tell you Christ did not die on a cross, he died on a tree, you can go look that up in Acts 13:29. So, in front of their hearts as they worship. How many of you wear crosses around your neck? Droops down by your heart. On the top Every year, on the first Sunday after the first full moon after the spring equinox, a celebration was made. It was Easter's. So you're worshiping Baal, Tammuz. Guys, you can't get no clearer than that. I mean, this is some history. Sunday and was celebrated with rabbits and eggs. Easter also proclaimed that because Tammuz was killed by a pig, that a pig must be eaten on that Sunday. How many of you still eat ham, bacon, ham hocks with black eyed peas, all that stuff? I used to eat it. But when I knew better, I started doing better. Think about the pig or the garbage disposal, because a pig will eat anything. A hog, pig, swine will eat anything. I mean anything, metals, you name it. So if it consumes all of that, and it's basically known as the land trash compactor, then what are you eating? They try to tell you they can dress it up all they want, but there's contents in that skin and that blood and that flesh. And it caused high blood pressure, cholesterol, and all the other good stuff. And you just sucking it down like it's going out of style. It's not good for you. But they're pushing it, and you just keep going right for it over and over again. But also, it doesn't chew the cud. It's part of your dietary laws. If you are holding true Israel and this book and these scriptures, you're not supposed to be eating pig in the first place. Christians, you can do whatever you want. All other religions, even though Israel, Hebrew Israelites, it's not a religion. Christians, all you other religions, you can do whatever you want. But for the people of this book, you can't do this. It's not in your best interest. Not at all. Easter ceramics widow of Nimrod, mother of Tammuz, came to be represented as the bare-breasted pagan fertility goddess of the East. The original pagan festival of Easter was a sex orgy. So not only are you worshiping in that synagogue of Satan, you're having orgies. Ask yourself, if you celebrate this Easter or Easter Sunday, do you have sex with other people, wives, husbands, in front of your children during that time frame? What about sacrificial? Let's get into that too. Again, the original pagan festival of Easter was a sex orgy that celebrated the return of life via the fertility Ishtar's conception of Tammuz. Worshippers of the Babylonian religion celebrated the conception of Tammuz on the first Sunday after the full moon that followed the spring equinox. They celebrated by baking cakes to Easter Ishtar, getting drunk, engaging in sex orgies and prostitution in the temple of Ishtar. Women were required, you women were required back then to celebrate the conception of Tammuz by lying down in the temple and having sex with whoever entered. Whoever entered. Okay? The man was required to leave her money. Babies were sacrificed in the honor of this pagan gods, and their blood was consumed by the worshippers. The priest of the Easter would sacrifice infants, yes, human babies, and take the eggs of Easter, Ishtar, as symbols of fertility and dye them in the blood of the sacrificed infants. That's how you got your painted eggs, your colored eggs from baby's blood. The Easter eggs would hatch on December 25th. Does that sound familiar to you guys? December 25th? 9 months later, the same day, her son Tammuz, the reincarnated sun god, would be born. Imagine that. Those nice little pretty eggs were really blood eggs. Happy Easter, guys. Not. Listen, we have a lot of rituals or paganism around. You have to be intelligent enough to discern what's good for you and what's not good for you and what's according to the book. And this is why you must study and show yourself approved. Again, if this does not resonate with you, you might need to study a little more or get some more into it, but these words ring true. In addition, if you don't understand what I'm saying, or if you disagree with what I'm saying, this is not for you. These teachings are not for you. You can do whatever you want. But this is to teach people who are chasing Yeshua HaMashiach and the Most High to have everlasting life, so give them some information and some insight. Altogether, you have to save yourself. But I must be compelled to give the information to you as I learn and become a better and more dedicated student of the Hebrew Scripture, the Bible, the book, Christ's teachings. I'm giving it to you. And it's really up to you to get that and understand it. I'm the Officer Wolfline, theofficerwolfline.com. Okay, you can make sure you like us on the following, and don't forget to subscribe. Okay, so YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Okay, we're there. Stop by us and see us, and if you have some information or questions, just go ahead and shoot them out. We'll try to get to them as fast as we can. But I enjoy making these things available to you so you can understand what's going on. Don't be confused. Don't get flustered, okay? The information is there. Take your time, consume it. And you need to come out of her, my people. That's also in Revelation. So understand, this is not for everybody. Everybody's not going to understand it. You might not have that level of understanding until later, but if you keep at it, you'll find it. Okay? Thanks for your time.